Don says, thank you. We would like to thank Ra at this time for the opportunity to be of service to those on this sphere who would like to have the information that we gain here in this inaudible, nothing, we don't know what Don said there, but he was just saying thank you. You stated that free will, one pointed in service to others, had the potential of alerting a great mass of life strength. I assume that the same holds precisely true for the service to self polarity. Is this correct? Ra says this is incorrect, but subtly so. In invocation and evocation of what may be termed negative entities or qualities, the expression alerts the positively oriented equivalent. However, those upon the service to others path wait to be called and can only send love. Okay. First of all, Don was saying thank you. It's a good point to emphasize that Don was grateful of all the material that was happening. Don actually said that this was the work of his life, and it certainly was. If you see Don's history, that's what it reflected. He reflected the interest in a middle ground between science and spirituality to investigate this phenomenon of channeling. Well, what's the best channeling that we have available on Earth? I think arguably is the law of one, the raw material. So yeah, Don was on point when he said that this was the work of his life, and it certainly was, because nothing compares to it to this day, and he basically gave his life for it. So it was a tremendous opportunity for him. So again, just wanted to emphasize that, because he's taken time to say thank you directly. I would assume that he knew that Ra didn't need to be told through Carla or the instrument thank you, but he wanted to say it anyway. So I appreciate it a little bit more for doing it. So that's that. Then, free will, one pointed in service to others, had the potential of alerting a great mass of life strength. We were talking about this a couple of sessions ago, maybe last session. I mentioned it too, or they mentioned it. And this refers to the calling of the raw contact. That's what it started, because, let me see, I'll give you context here. They were discussing the whole thing about the negative entity attacking them and so on. And so Ra explained that this is because they create a big calling with the information that they were channeling. I just mentioned how important this channeling is for the community who studies this type of philosophies, metaphysics and so on. So you can imagine the amount of information that was poured into this raw material, all densified into the channeling. So metaphysically, that's a lot of light. We're talking about 6 density materializing here, the law of one being given, right? Or at least the voice, one of the voices of the law of one. And so that light alerts a great deal of other entities, let's call them that. Positive and negative, of course. We talked about that. I think that was in the last session where I talked about how, well, Ra said that there is a calling of positive entities that are there to sort of help in the process, but also of negative entities that call themselves to it, even though they weren't called. And that's what we see here with the change in polarities. That's what Don was asking. Not the change of polarity, but the difference in how entities of different polarities, they offer their service. And we'll get to that, but that's what Don is saying here. Now he says, I assume that, in the same way that we're calling positive 6 density information, when there are adepts, negative adepts, humans, who do this black magic of calling negative entities, then the positive ones are alerted to, right? And Ra explains something very succinct and precise, actually, when they say that it is incorrect, but subtly so. It's not that they... We'll expand on this, so I won't expand myself here. So what they say is, in invocation and evocation, if I can put a difference in invocation, you invoke from... It's hard to describe. Yeah, it's almost like, the way I see it, invocation, we can see it both ways actually, but one is coming out of you and the other one is coming out of, where you're taking out of outside of you. You see? One is coming from inside and the other one is coming from outside. So invocation and evocation. I'm not going to say which one's which. You can think about it. Of what may be termed negative entities or qualities. So basically doing this in and out of these qualities. See, this is why I don't like too much the word entity, because it lends to the idea that there are separate entities. And I'll talk about this because this whole discussion of magic creates the illusion of, once again, separation. And that's not so. You know, that may be only so for the portions of consciousness that believe to be separated. See? So I cannot see that. You know, that's, to me, I cannot see it. I just don't see it. I don't see negative entities. And so see how Ra says, in invocation and evocation of what may be termed, emphasis here, in what may be termed negative entities or qualities. The expression alerts the positively oriented equivalents. So let me expand myself here with the negative entities. If we say that I am an entity and there are other entities, negative and positive ones, that are aiding me and all this stuff, the perception, it's not that it's wrong, but it's coming out of the idea of separation. You know, there is me and you. There is no, you split yourself. And then when you split yourself, you can attribute different responsibilities to it. Whereas if you know that there's only me, and all that is contained within me, I can call it whatever it is, entities, people, all these things. Then you're responsible for everything. You know, you're in charge. You don't need to control anything because everything is in control. So that to me is a better and more efficient way to look at reality than the negative entity. So I like when Ra says, or qualities. Qualities of who? Of the self. What else? Right? You see, I'll give you an example here because I love doing it. We believe that we live with other people, that they're out there. But the truth of it is that they live inside us, right? Have you ever seen anybody outside of you? No. You've never seen anybody outside of you. You've always seen them right here. Through your senses, interpreted by the mind, and experience. It's all here. It's never happened in any other place but here. If you know this, you have the key to the universe. The universe is you. So I'm only making this point to once again bring you to that, or invite you rather, to that place of I am this, everything that's happening. See? It's a much more balanced point of view. But going back to the raw material, Ross says that the expression alerts the positively oriented equivalents, right? This invocation and evocation of the negative entities or qualities, it does alert, so it is true. That's why the incorrectness is subtle. Now, why is it subtle? Because Ross says, however, those upon the service to others path wait to be called and can only send love. As opposed to, say, the negative entities who they go there. You know, you say, oh, here's my service. Here's my card. Call me if you need me. You know, that's the negative entity. He's a hustler. Whereas the positive ones, they see the call, and you know, if the black magician or the black ritualist somehow feels a sort of doubt of what it's doing and wants to think of love or something, then the positive entities are there to feed him. Otherwise, they'll just continue to do what they want. But positive entities don't abridge free will, let's put it that way. They don't get in your face. They're there for the calling, but they don't get in the way. Anyhow, let's move to question 4, which will expand this a lot better.